Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Hello, my beautiful people, and welcome back to another episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. How are you all doing, everyone? I hope you all had a pleasant and very nice week, and even maybe a relaxing or a fun-filled weekend. I could definitely tell you that I have been busy these past few days, but let me tell you, it's been absolutely satisfying to go and finish off a major project like I recently did with the top 10 funniest animated films. I mean, I'll admit, it wasn't easy to go and make that list, but when it comes to making the video itself, man, does it feel great to be back in that classic AniMat. Like, I'm talking about the same kind of AniMat you all knew and love, like in the early 2010s, like in the top 10 scariest Disney moments and stuff like that. Honestly, that video is one of my favorite ones that I have done this year so far. So it was definitely a great time. And I hope you all have, well, not just seen it, of course, but also that you have also enjoyed the video. But this is not about how I've been or the top 10 or anything like that. We are here to get into AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, and especially to check out the news that we got today, because oh boy, we got some pretty explosive animation news to get into, some of which I would even say are pretty fresh. Like, at the last minute, I had to go and change things up for this episode in order to get ready for this. So I hope you all have a heck of a good time on here, because now it is time. I'm going to go and pass this on to the chat wall. And I'd like to ask you all, are you all ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it, folks. Are you all ready? Let me see now. All right. Yes. Okay. I do see, yeah. All right. People are all prepared. People are all set up. Oh, and there even is a special shout out with Pan Pizza finishing his pilot of Loki. That is definitely true. Yes, I see people are prepared. People are ready. All right. So without further ado, I believe now it is time that we shall go and get things started. And with our first story, well, at least with the first couple of stories, actually, we are about to go and check out a few Excuse me, folks. Just a little bit of gas wanting to come out. But yes, we do have a couple of trailers that we're going to check out. And the first one that I have here, well, I'm just going to go and give you all a little bit of a warning, because when it comes to this one, it gets extremely violent. Like, let's just say this is one of those red band trailers, or this is one of those that it's not going to hide the gratuitous nature that is going to be involved with this particular upcoming series. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and begin with our first story. Just need to untangle some wires here, as we are now going to go and take a look at the trailer for the upcoming Disney Plus miniseries, Marvel Zombies. And that is Marvel Zombies, to which the miniseries, or the 4-part miniseries, shall be coming out on Disney Plus on September 24th. And to give you all a little bit of a context about Marvel Zombies, when it comes to this series in particular, of course, just like with anything from Marvel, it began as a comic series, and it went on to have massive popularity of its own, especially with the fact that this is one of the few moments in Marvel's history where we got this ultimate mega crossover with so many of the Marvel legacy heroes all coming together. But in this case, it's a little bit more messed up because now the grand majority of the Marvel heroes have been turned into zombies, with only a handful that were able to survive, and they have to find a way to get themselves around that. So it's basically superhero zombies that are theoretically, or I guess they are the bad guys of this particular narrative. And this is not necessarily the first time that we saw the MCU or Marvel in general actually adapting Marvel zombies, considering that it wasn't that long ago with Marvel's What If series, where there was one episode that was actually dedicated to Marvel zombies. And that episode actually did get a lot of praise, so much so that it ended up spinning off what we ended up getting here, which is an entire Marvel zombie series. And in this one, well, as you can probably tell, especially with the credits that we have, this will technically have a full-on connection with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, considering that there are many people from the MCU that are going to be coming back. Of course, like you got people from like Thunderbolts, such as Florence Pugh and David Harbour. You got some of the Shang-Chi people coming in, like Simu Liu and Awkwafina. I forgot her name, but you also got the assistant of Hawkeye, played by Haley Steinfeld, who's going to be in this as well. Not to mention, you also got Miss Marvel that's going to be joining in. You got, you also got Ant-Man, who will be there, of course, played by Paul Rudd. And even though Elizabeth Olsen is going to be in the cast, this version of Wanda, however, or Scarlet Witch, is going to be a zombie from the research that I've been in, that I was able to find. And by the way, yes, Kate Bishop, that's who I mean. Haley Steinfeld is played by Kate Bishop is played by Haley Steinfeld. There we go. That's what I mean here. And from what I have seen in this trailer, and by the way, just to give you context, I have yet to actually see an episode of Marvel's What If, or even that zombie episode of Marvel's What If. But honestly, I could definitely see the appeal with what they are presenting here, because this feels like it really is going to be about not just the action, but also how unapologetically violent that this is going to be. Because as you guys know, Disney is starting to embrace adult style violence with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or at least with the Marvel properties. Because on top of a few shows that have come out with an MA rating or even a full-on R rating, and then of course you also have Deadpool and Wolverine that came out with a hard R. Now we got Marvel Zombies, in which now this one is definitely all about the violence, where you see a lot of the action, or a lot of the MCU style action that's going to be happening. But of course, with zombies, there's going to be a lot of chopping, a lot of dismemberment, and a lot of exploding bodies. Like, you already got like tons of examples that you would see throughout this trailer. Like, just to go back here and like just to show you some, like, yeah, like even in this part, like yeah, like we see the explosions going on. And then, like, even this here, like, you got this, like, immediate slice that's happening. Oh, and then probably my personal favorite scene has to be, like, right over here where Blade fights off one of the zombies, like, in this fast-paced action. Like, that part, I will admit, like, that was really cool right there, just to see the quickness of the action while also showing off some of their abilities. But wait, there is more, actually, considering that right afterwards, we get that satisfying ending of the extra choppies.
Whoa, that's how you do that then.
Like, yeah, that's how you do it. Like, I gotta admit, that is actually pretty cool. But, speaking of that scene in particular, this is also a moment that really is going to stand out, considering that after all these years, Marvel Zombies will technically present the debut of Blade. Maybe not necessarily the same Blade that we would be expecting, because for the longest time, Marvel had been developing a Blade movie that would star Mahershala Ali. And even though in this one, it's not going to be played by Mahershala Ali, still though, we do have at least a variant of Blade that will be appearing and will be helping out the Marvel heroes to go and take down the zombies one by one. But hopefully, when it comes to the MCU, maybe this will mean that we are actually going to see some traction going on with Blade. And I could see that depending on this series' success, that could probably be a factor into, are we actually going to see a big future for Blade? Are we actually going to see that MCU Blade movie going on? If anything, this Marvel zombie series could actually work out as a bit of a test to go and see if people really are getting into that Blade character, if they really want to see him interact with the other Marvel characters, because if he works out well in animation, then maybe we will go and see more of him in live action, like way ahead. Maybe not in like the next few years, or maybe not in this phase of the MCU, maybe sometime much later. But we're going to have to go and wait and see. But it is very interesting how they really do present Blade as a total badass in this trailer. But of course, if there is any reason why people want to go and check this series out in particular, or at least a big reason, is to go and check out their favorite heroes and some of their favorite villains and how they are turned into zombies. And we got plenty of examples that they have displayed throughout this trailer. Like one prominent example, and one that they actually use in the thumbnail of the trailer, is that of course we see a zombie Thanos that came in. And not to mention, we also get to have a little preview of who's not been turned into a zombie. Like, we got, for example, we got Spider-Man coming in, we got Black Panther, or another variant of Black Panther, and I believe that is, I believe that's Doctor Strange. Like, the cape is absolutely familiar, but I don't know if that actually is him, or maybe that is just, or that is that Ant-Man? Okay, because I did do a little bit of research, and I did see that apparently Ant-Man is going to be involved, but he's just going to be a disembodied head because the rest of his body has been turned into a has been turned into a zombie. So I did hear that. Okay, so it's Ant-Man with Doctor Strange's cape. Okay, at least there is that clarification. Thank you so much, Chad. Honestly, I really do need that. But yeah, like you do see like you do see that, and then of course, okay, well, right over here we do have we got Shang-Chi, of course, that I've already mentioned. But then you also got a little clip here. Like we got zombie Tony Stark. That's also showing up. Who else can we go see? Well, of course, I mean, I think it goes without saying, we did see Captain America as a zombie. Then we also got a few others here. Like we got one of the Guardians of Wakanda, as well as from what I see, it looks like that might be Peter Quill and that might be Gamora, if I may guess. I could totally be wrong also. And then, of course, we also got, the chat wall has mentioned, we got Zombie Namor, that he's going to be a massive threat. And it's like, I think we saw that like a little bit in the middle. Yeah, like right over here. Like we do have Zombie Namor. Oh, Oh, actually, we got another clarification on those four, and looks like I'm absolutely wrong. It's not any of the Guardians. It's Hawkeye, Okoye, Abomination, and Ghost. Ah, I see. Okay. All right, I gotcha. Wow, it's kind of, well, honestly, a part of me is a little bit embarrassed because there's a side of me that feels like with this little segment here, it shows that I don't really know as much about the MCU. Oh boy, I do apologize for that, people, but I mean, you do get, like, at least, like, I'm not getting everything wrong, though. Like, you got to give me credit on that, but still, though, it is impressive, and it is really cool to see, like, with all the zombies that you see that are present here, and especially, like, even with some of the action from the zombies that we get, like with Namor, for example.
Shit.
Like, we're gonna get a lot of those. So yeah, overall though, I will say I understand that this may not necessarily be for everyone. And yeah, there are times when like you could see in the trailer, it's about to get nasty and hyper violent. So there are going to be some people that might be a bit disgusted by that. It might not be for them, but for those who are into the Marvel style violence that we have been getting, like if you enjoy something like Deadpool and Wolverine, then I can absolutely see that you will be on board for Marvel Zombies. And again, if you are interested in checking out Marvel Zombies, then keep in mind that the 4-part miniseries is going to be coming out on Disney Plus on Woof, it's almost has me choked up there on September 24th. All right, so with that said, now it is time I would like to pass this on to the chat wall. And I'd like to ask you all, what did you think of the trailer that we have seen of Marvel Zombies? Are you guys interested in checking this out? Are you guys more disgusted of what we have seen? And especially if you are still a big fan of the MCU, then I would love to know what you think. In fact, let's go a little extra here, and I think it's time we're going to go and make a little poll to know what you all may think of this. So let me just go and write one down, and I'll ask you all, will you be watching Marvel Zombies? So I'll write down yes, and then I'll write down no, and we'll see what the chat wall has to say, and we'll see what your comments are. So let's see here. This trailer honestly looks awesome. The zombie episode of What If was one of my favorite episodes of that show, and it's cool it's getting its own series. It looks so bloody violent, the action scenes are awesome, and it's great that a lot of the cast is coming back, so overall, I'm really excited for this. Also, I actually find it kind of funny how we're getting Blade in this series before a Blade movie. Personally, I don't think that movie is going to see the light of day with the trouble it had. Well, I mean, it definitely is true, but then again, never say never. You know, I feel like it's one of those that, again, we may not be getting a Blade movie in a long, long time. Maybe not in the next 5 years, or maybe not even in the next 10 years. In the current state that it is, nah, we ain't getting a Blade movie soon. But that doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that we will never have a Blade movie. It's just that process is going to take quite a while. And considering that we are going to see Blade here, I think it's going to be really testing the waters to see if people are really going to be interested to know if they actually want a Blade movie. All right, let's see now. The zombie episode was among my favorites of What If, so this is definitely going to be something intriguing. While I was never too big of a fan of What If's animation, the action is still kind of cool and gory. The voice actors are giving it their all, and this may just be a me thing, but Jimmy Woo is back. That's all I need. This will make for a decent watch. Also, with how production is going, this is probably going to be the closest we'll ever get to an MCU Blade movie. Actually, if I may say something here, the closest we do have to an MCU Blade movie would technically be Deadpool and Wolverine, considering that Blade did appear in that movie, and, well, Blade did appear in a movie that may have an MCU connection, even though it's like kind of, but not really. Still, though, it's something. You get what I mean? It's something. And even though with this, it's like, yeah, that one has more of a connection to MCU. Still, though, it is a series. So if you want Blade in an MCU movie or kind of an MCU movie, that would technically be Deadpool and Wolverine, at least from my opinion. All right, let's see what other comments are there. I never watched What If or even that one episode where everyone turned into a zombie, but hearing the fact Disney chose to greenlit a show where there was a lot of violence, where everyone turned into zombies, including Thanos, and having a scene where Blade slicing a total zombie into shreds was just pretty cool, and hearing Blade entering the MCU for the first time was just cool for fans who love the character, plus they chose to release it around Halloween, was just nice because zombies. Ah, yes, of course. And by the way, we do have the results of the poll that I just made, and it looks like, well, maybe not all of you will, but some of you, or at least the majority of you who have voted, said that you are going to be planning to watch Marvel Zombies, as 64% of the votes actually said yes, you will be watching it, while 36% have said no. Still some very interesting results. All right, so let's see now. So this is Marvel's What If, but rated for adults and having the same bloodlust as a serial killer. Okay, this seems pretty cool. Hell, this sounds pretty damn awesome. I've actually seen the episode of What If with the zombies and Blade is in here. Awesome. This looks hella awesome, and I am hella excited for this. As Blade himself said it best, I was born ready, mother effer. Oh yeah, we definitely do sense some hype going on. All right, so let's see here. I love how this is Disney saying, you know what, screw our squeaky clean family friendly image, let's go full Resident Evil on this. As somebody who loved What If and considered the Marvel Zombies episode my favorite one that didn't have Captain Carter in it, I am immediately excited for this. I never thought Disney Plus would go this hardcore and bloody on a non-Hulu show, but I'm glad they are. But what really sold me on this series was the fact that my girl Kamala Khan is gonna be in it. Ah, yes, of course. Kamala Khan is Miss Marvel, right? Just to be sure, because I did see that, like, she was there to go and witness, like, the slicing of that zombie alongside two of the Thunderbolts. So, yeah, like, I definitely get the excitement there. Let's see, what other comments would there be to go and read? I think I'll just read a couple more at this point. I never heard of the zombie Marvel franchise in my life, so I'm not interested at watching it because first, I'm not interested at it, and second, because I don't have Disney Plus. So yeah, fun fact, I am now in Greece for vacation with my family and our friends, but doesn't stop me from watching AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Ooh, have fun in Greece. Okay, let's see now. Is there one more interesting comment to go and check out? Okay, I'll go with this one. This is definitely the perfect show that is fun for the whole family. Knowing Disney, they really know how to target towards families. Great job, guys. But in all seriousness, this is one of the most hardcore things Marvel Studios has ever co-produced, and I'm all for it since I do love What If so much. One of my favorite MCU shows to date, and with this, I know it'll be insane based on the trailer. So, maybe not necessarily everyone is hyped up for this, but those who are interested in watching it, well, they definitely are expressing some excitement to go and check it out. So with that said, if you guys want to go and check out Marvel Zombies, then keep in mind that it will be coming out on Disney Plus on September 24th. And with that said, we are now going to go on to our first break. And when we do come back, we got one more trailer to go and check out. But this time around, it will be less violent. But let's just say it's going to be a lot more chaotic, but still provide us with a lot of smiles. So stay tuned for that. All right, welcome back. Now, I know that maybe some of you might be a little bit grossed out with all the nasty violence that we have seen in that Marvel Zombies trailer. But don't you worry, folks. I actually do have a bit of a palate cleanser, Because what we are about to see here, well, this is going to be far less violent and a lot more positive than a subject matter like a post-apocalyptic zombie show. However, there is a bit of a catch because this is about to be as chaotic as a post-apocalyptic zombie world, especially with this show in particular that just embraces its own craziness and has pretty much gathered quite a following with this particular show, especially now that it is going to be coming onto its 3rd season, and the hype is quite strong for this one. So without further ado, let's go ahead and check out our next trailer as we are about to see season 3 of Smiling Friends.
All right, boys, let's get this puppy back into place on 3. Ready?
All right, let's go.
One,
One,
two, 3.
Behold. You didn't just see my penis, did you?
And that is season 3 of Smiling Friends, to which it will be premiering on the night of October 5th. Which, by the way, just so happens to be my birthday, so that'll actually be quite fun, and maybe I could use that as a way to go and cap off my birthday, just to go and check out the new episode of season 3 of Smiling Friends. Yeah, but anyways, I will say that when it comes to Smiling Friends, I definitely am familiar with the series, and I will even say that I am a fan of the show. I mean, just the pure chaotic energy that it would go and deliver. And it has a bit of that internet style of humor that, of course, you would expect from people such as Michael, is it Michael Cusack, I believe? Yeah, but from Michael Cusack and Zach Hadel, aka Psychic Pebbles. Like, it just goes in for just all around chaotic fun, and just seeing all the craziness that would go and happen with the Smiling Friends, and that, like, you don't know which direction it would go, but somehow they would accomplish their job to make people go and smile and make people happy, even if the situation might be messed up. It's just an all-around fun show to go and experience. And honestly, maybe some people have already made this comparison, but honestly, it was through this trailer that it actually made me realize that when it comes to Smiling Friends, it really is like the adult version of the amazing world of Gumball. And that is especially the case with the variety of animation styles that keep popping up. Now, of course, this is probably even more prominent when you do see season 2, especially when you have like even more characters that have all these different animation styles, like Gwimbly, for example, that is presented like a 64-bit video game character, like even fully 3D, unlike the rest of the characters that are just like flat 2D. But still, though, like in here, you do see a lot more of that same kind of experimentation. Like you even see some claymation that is going on. Like, for example, like you go and back it up. There's at one point, like they have to face this giant monster, I believe. Where was it? Like there's a lot of clips that go in that they could be quite fat. Oh yeah, like right over here where suddenly Charlie gets picked up by this green monster, and that it's, I don't know if it is CG or they did stop motion, but you see that it's all like, you know, like it's presented in the claymation way. And then like right afterwards, like you also got like a full-on CG jumbled up character, and like I think this guy the most, like you see him like all these like wacky different shapes, and like he has like this claw arm and a cuckoo clock head. Like this character feels like he came straight out of the amazing world of Gumball. So like you got that that is happening. But then of course, like you got plenty of other characters they're going to show. Like, of course, like you got this one guy who's obviously like this like that. Now they got their own little Bart Simpson ripoff, except, well, definitely a lot more chubby. And, wow, I just realized, I think I ended up reaching this cursed image here. I don't know if people are going to consider it cursed, but we got Blip here. I never expect that we would immediately see this forward-facing blip. And honestly, it's weird. It's honestly strange. I don't know if I really like this. Chadwell, do you like this? You can go and take a snapshot. I feel like this is one of those things that you'll see people who love to post like these crazy, or glep. Yeah, glep. Did I say blip? Sorry, I do mean glep. Yeah, I don't know. This forward-facing glep is just it's really off-putting. I feel like this is one of those that you'll see like like you'll see like trolls and meme lords just using that as their profile pic. I feel like this is not going to be the last time that we will see this kind of thing. But yeah, anyways, back to what I was talking about. Like, you see like all the crazy situations that they get themselves into, and promoting more of the attitude of expect the unexpected. In fact, there's even one time where they're like, now we're going to see them be on this circus that's just gonna go completely upside down, or even like this crazy wrestling match with this angry guy and everybody demanding to just eat him alive. Oh, and of course, it can't be it cannot be Smiling Friends unless we have at least one episode with Mr. Frog, in which, in this case here, I guess now he's going to be the president of the United States, and we're going to see how he's going to be running the Oval Office. And especially with the fact that he just made like a total mess. Now, I don't know if this is actually going to have some kind of actual commentary. I don't know if the guys at Adult Swim want to do their own South Park and they'll make their own commentary about Donald Trump's current administration. But you never know, because so far, like, you can imagine with Mr. Frog running the Oval Office, yeah, it could probably be an absolute nightmare right there. But yeah, just seeing everything, and not to mention like the random moments, like even this little shot right over here with the couple, and then suddenly the girl just straight up eating the guy. Or, there's another thing I will say. It's not just going to be Mr. Frog who's also going to be making a comeback, considering that we also got the return of the computer guy from the first episode, except, well, we got an update with what's happening to him, and yeah, he's gone. And honestly, at this point here, I am actually curious to know if we're actually going to find out what's on his computer, because I remember in that pilot episode, or I think it was the pilot episode or just the first episode, where they would, we would see what's inside, and like he's trying to cover his computer, like he doesn't want to know what anyone's doing. I want to know what he has on his computer, like boot it up, see what he's searching, so that we can answer that lifelong question. Oh boy. But yeah, like, of course we're going to get like these callbacks that are going to be happening, along with meeting other like crazy characters that the Smiling Friends would have to try to go and make them happy, including like we got like this, like even with this mole guy, or even like the dude who apparently has to learn to take his hands out of his eyes in order to go and see. So like, honestly, from what I could tell, there's not really a whole lot to comment, I will admit, but from what I could tell, this is definitely going to be more of the crazy Smiling Friends that everybody knows and loves. This is like more, it's basically more Smiling Friends, more of that sane chaos that people have come to love. So I'm sure there's going to be some hype for this one. And who knows what the next memorable character is going to be, or who knows what's going to be the next conundrum that the Smiling Friends will have to face. But we will only know on the night of October 5th, when it will be premiering on Adult Swim, and on the next day on HBO Max. So with all that said, now I would like to once again go and talk to the chat wall. And I'd like to go and ask you all, what do you all think of the season 3 trailer of Smiling Friends? Are you guys interested to go and check and check this one out. Are you guys going to go? Whew, excuse me. I don't know why this part specifically, where suddenly that seems to come up. But anyways, are you guys interested in checking it out? Are you guys going to give it a pass? And if you are a fan of Smiling Friends, I would love to know what you think. In fact, let's go and do another poll, shall we? Let's go and ask again about that question here. So, let me see. I want to go and ask you all, will you be watching season 3 of Smiling Friends? So I'll go and write down yes, and I'll write down no, and we'll see what the chat has to go and say here. All right, so I will admit, I've honestly not seen a single episode of Smiling Friends, but from everything I've heard, it does sound like my kind of show, especially with that gumball comparison. The most I know about the show is through all the quotable memes like, this is the most obnoxious thing I've ever seen, and whoa, is that freaking blackface, dude? Oh my god, that blackface gag. That, I have to admit, is actually pretty hilarious right there. Oh yeah, I mean, like, if you love that kind of fast-paced, chaotic show, like, if you want to see, like, one of the closest things to a YouTube poop be a television series, then that's pretty much what you would get in Smiling Friends. I'm sure there are probably some places where you could go and actually get a taste of it. Like, you could watch, like, some clips on YouTube, or you could probably see some full episodes somewhere. Or, like, if you do have HBO Max, then you could go and check some of those episodes out there. But still, like, for me personally, I would definitely recommend to go and check it out if you are a fan of just pure stupidity and zaniness. All right, let's see what we got here. Honestly, I have never seen Smiling Friends myself. I've only seen clips of it, and honestly, it definitely looks entertaining. The humor is really enjoyable, and the different animation styles are very creative, so overall, this does look fun. Honestly, the only negative I have about Smiling Friends is when they had Doug Walker make a cameo, basically trying to paint him in a positive light, even after everything that happened to him in the past. Yeah, I do understand what you mean, and especially ever since that controversial LS Mark video came out, like, the subject of Doug Walker suddenly has resurfaced, and yeah, it's just not been pleasant to see these discussions happen again and again. So that's just not fun to go and experience. Honestly, I'm personally on the side of Lady Emily with what she said about that Smiling Friends cameo, in which it's more sad than it actually is funny. And even, like, the grand majority of Smiling Friends fans that I've seen who actually commented about that, like, even they said that it is the one joke that wasn't actually funny in the series. So hopefully season 3 will be Doug Walker free. All right, let's see what other comments are there. Let's see. Yes, I have seen Smiling Friends. Thanks for asking, everyone. I do think season 3 of Smiling Friends is definitely going to be funny as the previous season. Seeing Mr. Frog being president is pretty accurate to the real world. I also wonder what other guest stars are they going to have this season. Hopefully not Chris Chan or another Doug Walker cameo. Oh, and also nice use of a Huey Lewis song. Yeah, that's also going to be interesting to see. Like, who else is going to have an unexpected cameo in this? And it looks like we do have the results of this poll right over here. And interestingly enough, it's a little bit similar to last time. However, in this case, 60% of you actually said that yes, you will be watching season 3 of Smiling Friends, while 40% of you have actually said no. All right, so very interesting. Now, I mean, I do understand that Smiling Friends may not necessarily be for everyone, like the type of comedy that it does present. Like, some people might be a little bit overwhelmed by it and may not be to their taste. But again, it's one of those that's like, I do get it if you're not a fan of it, but I also understand why you would love the show. All right, so let's see what other comments are there. I am definitely aware of Smiling Friends. I never watched the episodes because I don't have HBO Max, but I did watch clips of it, and I love the reactions of people watching the show. Especially Gore the Movie God reactions of Smiling Friends. They are always enjoyable. This is a YouTuber that you probably 1,000,000% or 1,000,000,000% don't know. So I can't wait for the reactions of people of Smiling Friends Season 3, especially. Gore's reactions, I hope that you have a great birthday when the series comes out. Or, oh, you're saying that to me. Okay, yeah. Thank you so much, by the way. I mean, like, it's still a few weeks ahead, but I am hoping that I'll have a great birthday as well. All right. Anyways, what other comments do we have here? Let me just go and see. What are the okay, I guess I'll go and read this one. To be honest, I never watched Smiling Friends, but I did remember seeing bits and pieces of it alongside seeing bits of Gwimbly and that cameo for the nostalgia critic himself, Doug Walker. But I would say that was a trailer, so I might need to watch the show, or rather a couple of episodes before getting into season 3, since again, I have not watched the show myself. And also, we will always love Mr. Frog as the president than the other president we have as I am typing this. Yeah. Someone, I see some ideas about possible cameos. Someone mentioned James Rolfe. Well, funny enough, James Rolfe already did do a cameo in the first season where he actually played as the devil. So that was actually fun to go and see. Imagine Mr. Enter actually making a cameo. Honestly, if Mr. Enter gets a cameo in there, I'm going to be very honest. I would be freaking jealous. I so would. It's like, I would just be seeing that like, oh, come on. If Mr. Enter gets a cameo, why not me, man? I want a Smiling Friends cameo. No, but anyway, but for real, if Mr. Enter does get a cameo, that would actually be awesome. That would be amazing for him. That would be amazing for him, but still, there would be a part of me that would want that cameo as well. Okay. All right. Surprisingly enough, we don't have much other comments to go and see. So, all right. So I think at that point, we're going to go on to our next break right now. So now that we are done checking out the trailers, when we do return, we're going to get into a little bit more serious discussions, especially when we are going to talk about what is possibly the biggest animation news of last week, as we will go and try to get into the case if this beloved animation studio actually did shut down. So stay tuned for that. All right, welcome back. Now, on our next story, we are going to go and talk about a beloved animation studio whom for decades, in fact, for over 50 years, they have provided us with many nostalgic and beloved animated shows and even some animated movies. I'm talking, of course, about Nelvana. But unfortunately, when it comes to their parent company, things have been going very bad for them. And along the way, they had to go and make some sacrifices in order to go and save up on some costs. And sadly, well, considering the cost-saving tactics that they have to do, it was pretty much inevitable that Nelvana would also go and get a hit. But is it really a major hit? Because I remember back last week, or on last Monday specifically, in which there had been word that was quickly going around that allegedly Nelvana was shutting down, especially when there were some animators who reportedly lost their jobs. So word just quickly spread, and I'll admit, I even jumped into that to go and say that unfortunately Nelvana shut down. And from there, of course, clarifications had to be, there needs to be some clarifications to go and answer what is actually going on. So with that said, let's go and actually inspect with what is really happening with Nelvana. So yes, Corus Entertainment actually stepped in to go and make some clarifications with what they are actually doing with Nelvana, and did the studio actually shut down? And the answer, I'm just going to go and immediately say, is no, or at least technically no. They didn't shut it down, but there are some modifications that they have to do moving forward. And by the way, when it comes to Nelvana, I almost forgot to go and mention, but I just want to go and quickly switch to another source that I have, which is Animation Magazine, in which there's actually a full list of the different shows and movies that they have worked on. And this is just like a handful of examples of the works that they have provided throughout the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and so on and so forth. And just to read you the list here, for those of you not popular with Nelvana, they are the studio that brought us Franklin, Babar, The Magic School Bus, The Care Bears, The Adventures of Tintin, The Magic School Bus. Again, I guess the Magic School Bus is so noteworthy they have to put it in twice. The Backyardigans, Beetlejuice, Redwall, Jane and the Dragon, The Bearstain Bears, Ruby and Max, Little Bear, Rupert, Miss Spider's Sunny Patch Friends, Star Wars Ewoks and Droids, and Roly Poly Beyblade, The Raccoons, and Bakugan Battle Brawlers. They are also noted to still be working on some shows that are still airing today, including Barney's World and Thomas and Friends All Engines Go. And on top of that, they have even made a few movies, including the cult classic Rock and Rule, the Care Bears movies, Babar the movie, and Franklin and the Turtle Lake Treasures. But back onto what is currently happening with Nelvana Studios and what Corus Entertainment is doing. If I may go back to my original source here on the Globe and Mail, they have mentioned here that the media company said in an email Tuesday that it was not shutting down Nelvana entirely, keyword being entirely, but rather moving ahead with a previously announced plan to wind down its existing projects and to pause new productions for the time being. The Nelvana brand will still exist, focusing on distribution, merchandising, and managing existing properties, says Melissa Eckersley, Corus's head of corporate communications. The company declined to confirm how many jobs were affected as its production work came to a close over the past few months. As always, we continue to review opportunities and priorities as part of our ongoing business operations. So, for those of you who have been listening or watching AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast lately, then you know that this is not the first time that I've been talking about Corus Entertainment, especially with the fact that the businesses of Corus has been really going badly, especially with the fact that they were they still technically are a television production company. And like, there was a time when they were thriving. And back in the year 2000, when they did acquire Nelvana, it did make a lot of sense why they did so. But nowadays, in the age of streaming, well, things have just been getting worse and worse and worse for the company, where their debt is just growing bigger and bigger, where now I do believe it is in the billions, or it at least crossed the $1 billion mark. And this is not even to mention that just last week, or on the last episode, I mentioned how Corus Entertainment had to shut down some of the kids' media channels that they had, including the Canadian version of Nickelodeon and a bunch of Disney-related channels, including Disney Junior. So things have not been going well for them, which is why we are at this point in which they're also making some sacrifices within Nelvana, but maybe not necessarily taking the studio down entirely. So to go back in my statement with what I wanted to talk about, no, technically they didn't fully shut down Nelvana. There is still a studio called Nelvana that is up and running. It's just that now things are a little bit different. And this is where I have to step in and partly also say, yes, it is kind of shut down because, well, to make a long story short of it, I feel like now Nelvana has just become a shell of its former self. Because going back to what they have mentioned, the main focus right now of what they are going to do is that they're just going to be focusing on distribution, merchandising, and managing existing properties. And on top of that, they're barely even going to be an existing studio. They're barely going to be a full-on functioning studio in the first place, considering that all the new productions have to be put to a massive pause. And I mean, that's kind of putting it lightly. That's not necessarily an encouraging term. So yeah, like that has to all be put on hold. And even in terms of the existing ones that they do have, even with stuff like Barney's World and Thomas All Engines Go, they got to go and immediately slow down. So the thing is, right now, when it comes to Nelvana, it's not really an animation studio. Right now, they have to go and reduce it to a legacy brand where they go and capitalize on what they used to be without having much energy to go and actually create anything new with it. They cannot go and actually add to their legacy. They can only go and work with the legacy that they do have, in which they have built for the past over 50 years, which in that regards, it is a bit of a sad sight to see. And again, that is also partly why I'm saying that, yeah, Nelvana did shut down, but it's more like the Nelvana that we know, the Nelvana that we have recognized for so many years as an animation studio. Because right now, it's no longer an animation studio. It's just trying to manage with whatever it can. It's just in a pretty bad state. And that's largely due to what's happening with Corus Entertainment. And at this point right now, I'm just going to go and say that, I hate to be a pessimist about this entire thing, but I feel like it is difficult to imagine how Nelvana can really go and bounce back from this. That, like some people would say like, oh, this is just going to be a little bump in the road, but you'll see over time things will get better and they'll be back as an animation studio and stuff like that. It's just, I don't know. It just feels hard to convince myself that things can actually get better with Nelvana. And this is not to mention that what I consider to be the most frustrating part of this is the fact that when it comes to the amount of jobs that this has affected, Corus Entertainment just wouldn't really want to go and say. They wouldn't really want to go and open up about how many jobs this has affected or how many jobs have been lost because of this decision. Because again, like it even says here in the Globe and Mail that, where was it? Yeah, like the company declined to confirm how many jobs were affected as its production work came to a close over the past few months. So when the situation is bad, when you would go and ask how many jobs were lost because of this, and their answer is yes, that's it. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I can't help but feel like the reason why they don't want to go and open up and actually express how many jobs have been lost, because they just want to avoid a PR nightmare. Because if they actually do confirm how many jobs were lost in this, that would actually make it more of a confirmation that, yeah, maybe Nelvana might close down soon. Like, if it's not, like, if they didn't shut down now, the time will be coming in, like, not long. Like, maybe in the at the most, maybe in the next year or two, there may not be a Nelvana. Now, I will say, though, that yes, there is a way for Nelvana to actually come back, but the ones, like the things that I am thinking about, like the possibilities that it can do so, like these are things that I'll just say are very unlikely. Because for Nelvana to be back as a fully functioning animation studio, it's either A, Corus Entertainment suddenly bounces back, where suddenly business would be booming for them again, where they would actually accumulate money to go and pay off their debt, and suddenly they can go and bring back Nelvana back to its original state and be an animation studio again. Like, if that, there could be that could happen. Or there is also B, in which another company could go and step in and that they would buy off Nelvana from Corus Entertainment so that they could go and revive Nelvana as an animation studio. But again, the chances of those happening are unfortunately pretty low. And in the current state that we are seeing right now with Corus Entertainment, it's honestly, it's hard to imagine if things are actually going to improve. Because if it doesn't look like it's going to get better for Corus Entertainment, then it's obviously not going to get better for Nelvana. And like I mentioned in the previous episode, one of the first things that Corus Entertainment is ready to go and sacrifice is the kids media, considering that kids nowadays are focused a lot more on consuming their shows and a lot of their animated projects onto streaming and stuff like that. Basically consuming it in stuff that Corus Entertainment cannot provide, which is traditional television. So in that regards, of course, Nelvana would be next to go and be on the chopping block, considering that Corus is not primarily for animation, they are primarily for television. And since that business is going down, Corus is going down, and as a result, Nelvana, the way that I see it, is also going down as is. So in my opinion, that's why I would say that yes and no in terms of Nelvana has shut down. Because technically, no, it's still up and running. But again, it's in a former shell of itself. It's pretty much this empty husk where it cannot be anything more than just like this nostalgia company, basically just capitalizing on what it used to be and what kind of shows that it used to do. And it's really hard to go and imagine how long does Nelvana actually have left. Maybe it could be like, maybe it only has one more year, maybe it has another 5 years, or maybe it wouldn't even last like another few months and that's it. Like maybe its time will ultimately come somewhere in 2026. So honestly, I don't know, but seeing how Nelvana is and how the business of Corus Entertainment is just getting worse and worse and worse, or where they have to go and keep on making sacrifices in order to survive, it's just not encouraging to go see the fate of Nelvana and how a treasured animation studio in Canada will soon no longer exist. So the thing is, yeah, Nelvana didn't shut down, but that doesn't mean that it's not, that doesn't mean that it's not going to happen soon. Or at least that's just my opinion. And hey, let's hope that maybe I'm wrong, that Nelvana is going to be gone soon, and maybe like those unlikely scenarios could actually happen. I would love to be proven wrong if the fate of Nelvana is bad, Show me that there is a way that things can get better for Nelvana. But for now, the way that I see it, yeah, it ain't great. I'm just going to leave it at that. All right, so now with that said, I would like to go and pass this on to the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, what do you think about the fate of Nelvana? Do you think things are going to improve with the animation studio? Do you think they'll be able to bounce back? Or do you think that they're just one step closer to actually shutting down? I would love to know what you all think. In fact, I just thought of this. Let's go and actually make a poll here. And I really want to go and ask you all. And let's see here. What good question would be asked? Let's see. Do you think, hold on a sec. Do you think Nelvana will shut down soon? A grim question, but it's worth asking. So we'll just put in yes, we'll put in no. And let's see what the chat wall has to say here. All right, so I felt very devastated when the news broke out that Nelvana has shut down. Thankfully, it's been confirmed that it's not fully dead, but still a big heartbreaker that they no longer make new content. Me and my friends watched many of the shows in honor of their legacy, like Max and Ruby, Timothy Goes to School, Franklin, and more. It's really sad seeing how Canadian TV is dying, even more so than the US, I'd argue. I'll miss you, Nelvana. Thank you so much for the memories. Oh boy, and people are already making their eulogies. Let's see now. I remember watching many Nelvana shows when I was young, such as the Ace Ventura series, Little Bear, The Adventures of Sam and Max, Flying Rhino Junior High, Rupert, the Donkey Kong Country series, Ned's Newt, Braceface, and Rescue Heroes, as well as the anime dubs of Card Captors, Metabots, and Beyblade. It's such a shame to see them practically on life support. I'm gonna miss seeing the polar bear gazing at the stars. Yeah, and I'll even say, like, even on my part, that as a Canadian, of course, I grew up with so many Nelvana shows. So yeah, it is just unfortunate to see that studio is going to go. And in fact, I've been talking to my friends about the possible shutdown of Nelvana. And even though, like, yeah, it's not happening now, but as the commenter actually said, like, they put it in the best way. Right now, Nelvana is on life support, and it's not really a pleasant sight to see. All right, let's see now. Honestly, AniMat, I think what's happening to Nelvana is really depressing. Seriously, since Corus is in financial troubles, I don't understand why Corus couldn't have just sold off Nelvana to another company instead of just leaving it there in limbo, but just pausing animation production and just a legacy brand. Such a waste. Can we all agree that Nelvana should have been sold off in the first place instead? Well, I do understand what you mean, but then again, you would need another company to step in to go and buy Nelvana. I think in that regards, like, yeah, selling Nelvana would be a great idea in order to have it last longer. But the bigger question is, who would want to go and buy Nelvana? Who would want to go and buy that Canadian animation studio? Like, would it be an American company who would want to go and step in and actually go and purchase it? Or would it be maybe another major Canadian company that would want to step in and try their hands on that? Maybe another like major telecommunications company like either Rogers or Bell or something like that. Maybe they would, well, maybe not Rogers because they do own Corus, and well, you see what's happening with them, you know, with, but you guys do get what I mean. It's just right now, it's a matter of, if Nelvana would be sold off, who would go and buy it? And by the way, I do see the results on the poll here, and a lot of you really want to be optimistic here, considering that 62% of you have said that no, Nelvana will not be shutting down soon, while 38% of you have voted that yes, it will shut down. So many of you are still holding on to Nelvana, hoping that it could still last longer, but hopefully it could get through this. You know, I do like the enthusiasm. I will give you guys that. All right. Anyways, what else do we have here? Corus Entertainment is at it again. With them laying off and shutting down studios and channels, I remember Nelvana from watching various shows like Stickin' Around, Max and Ruby, and several others that would be too many to list. Alongside of their other works like Rock and Rule and its inspiration, Devil and Daniel Mouse, and the international distributor of Fairly Odd Parents. It really sucks that we are now losing another animation studio since the loss of Blue Sky Studios. Yeah, I do get what you mean. Let's see now. It sucks that Nelvana is functionally gone. It's still there, but it's functionally dead. And it's still a shame because as a kid who grew up on Nelvana shows in the 2000s like Franklin, Babar, Class of the Titans, The Magic School Bus, and Timothy Goes to School. Also, I did watch Rock and Rule last year. As a young Canadian child who was probably one of the last generations who still watched cable, it's like a piece of my childhood being ripped apart. But what do you expect in the age of streaming? Exactly, man. Trust me. Like, we are seeing, like, honestly, it's kind of like streaming did a Thanos snap And we Canadians are watching pieces of our childhood just disintegrate. Like I mentioned, I mean, we've lost Teletoon not too long ago when they transformed that into Cartoon Network. And now, like, we're also losing we just lost Nickelodeon and a bunch of those Disney channels. And not to mention, like, we also lost those family channels as well. Like, it's just one by one, like, Canadian television as we know it is pretty much disappearing before our very eyes. Soon cable television is just going to be flat out gone in Canada. And the only way we'll be able to go and actually consume the media that we watch will be just through streaming and the internet. I mean, I know, like, a lot of this might sound a bit like doomerism, but in the direction that it is going, and especially with how badly Corus Entertainment is going down financially, it's hard to not go into that direction where we would probably have to go and accept that here in Canada, Canadian television Canadian cable television, that's going to be a thing of the past. It's going to be like pennies. Like, it's just going to be something that will just not exist, and we have no choice but to go and adapt that life. Which, by the way, side note, for those of you not in Canada, yes, we don't have pennies here. They no longer exist. So, yeah, like, there's a lot of math that we have to do in order to give out our change and stuff like that. But anyways, going back to the comments here. Let's see now. This is absolutely tragic. I remember back when I was a kid, I used to watch a lot of shows from Nelvana, especially ones that would air on Nick Jr. And seeing how it's basically becoming a shell of its former self is just depressing. And honestly, considering the state of Corus Entertainment, the fate of Nelvana is questionable. And honestly, I feel like it's in the future of Nelvana will most likely no longer exist, and that is tragic. Yeah, I do get what you mean there. Let's see. What else do we have? What other comments? Okay, I'll go with this. Nelvana was indeed a childhood enjoyment, just as other studios were that also came and went. Fun fact. Nelvana was originally going to make a cartoon series based on Doctor Who, or based on the Doctor Who series with the fourth Doctor, Tom Baker, and his robot dog companion, K9. Unfortunately, it was canceled and never materialized like the TARDIS that the Doctor travels in. Yeah, unfortunately. Let's see here. This is just unfortunate news to hear about Nelvana. I know they've been pretty well known, as I mentioned before, and they really stand out in Canadian animation. Ooh, excuse me, folks. I know they aren't complete. They haven't been completely shut down, but they are facing the fate. Oh, they have to face a fate worse than death. Thanks for nothing, Corus. Yeah. I mean, like, I understand that Corus is just surviving, but then again, I don't blame you for being upset with them. It still really does suck the way that they're currently treating Nelvana. All right, I think I'm gonna read one more comment, and then we're gonna go and move on to our next story. So, I'll go here actually. I am sad to hear about Nelvana. I used to watch shows produced by the studio during my childhood, like The Magic School Bus, Beetlejuice, Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, and Donkey Kong Country. Remember that video game-based animated series with crazy CG motion capture and musical moments where Donkey Kong characters sing some songs? Do the review on the series. Miss you, Polar Bear. Fun fact, actually, I remember as a child, I used to watch that Donkey Kong series. It was one of those shows that back in the 90s, I used to watch regularly. In fact, it was that, the way that I was introduced to Donkey Kong was through that series, and I believe the Game Boy game was also how I learned about Donkey Kong. In fact, I think when it comes to Donkey Kong Country, I knew it as a TV show before I knew that it actually was a video game, or at least the one that had Diddy Kong and Cranky Kong and stuff like that. All right, but anyways, it is now time we are going to go on to our next break, and when we do come back, we're going to go and really lighten up the mood here, because I think after that Nelvana talk, We really do need it. And what better way to bring in some smiles than with Sesame Street? So stay tuned for that. All right, welcome back. Now, when it comes to our next story, we are going to go, and like I said, we shall be lightening up the mood because there have been some positive animation news that did happen during the previous week. Because yes, while people have been mourning for what is currently happening with Nelvana, we did get some good news, like with Bluey, for example, considering that the Bluey movie is actually confirmed to be released on August of 2027. So people are already marking their calendars, and already people are making memes about how that is going to be the true box office champion that could even challenge Avengers Secret Wars. But then there is this piece of news right over here. Maybe not necessarily an animated series, but it is a preschool series that is similar to Bluey, especially with how beloved that it is. Now, considering that with this show in particular, a few months ago, we did receive the news that its fate is going to be okay and that it will continue its legacy. So it did receive a happy ending where we are going to be getting more new episodes and that it is going to be financially secure and all that kind of stuff. However, what we didn't expect is that things can actually get better for it. And with that said, let's go and actually take a look at the new update with Sesame Street. Yes, Sesame Street was revealed to have made a deal with YouTube in order to go and have that platform be another major house for Sesame Street, in which it is confirmed that they will be uploading hundreds of classic episodes on January 2026. In fact, let me go and read you here specifically with what the plan is going to be right over here. So it states, reading from my source on The Hollywood Reporter, the video platform says that it has inked an expanded partnership with the nonprofit behind the show, Sesame Workshop, which will make YouTube the largest digital library of Sesame Street content available, including hundreds of classic episodes beginning in January of 2026. Sesame Street, of course, will debut new episodes on Netflix and PBS in November, and Netflix has picked up about 90 hours of library episodes. Warner Brothers HBO Max also continues to make some library episodes available. YouTube, however, will top both of them, alongside creating new content created specifically for YouTube. And not only that, because on top of the fact that there's going to be hundreds of classic episodes that will be on the Sesame Street YouTube channel, and on top of the new original piece of media that they will be making, like original videos that they will do for YouTube specifically, they also revealed that they are going to do workshops. And to continue on my source here, under the partnership, Sesame Workshop will lead seminars for next YouTube creators to share best practices on how to create content that is entertaining while also promoting learning. So if you want to go and make your own preschool show, if you want to go and try to make something that is similar to something like Sesame Street or Miss Rachel, well, Sesame Workshop is going to be helping you out with the workshops that it will be doing in order to go and actually help you out. How to make some entertaining stuff that can also go and promote learning and education and all that kind of great stuff. So honestly, reading all this, it is absolutely fantastic to go in here. Honestly, this is one of those moments that it really is a great pick-me-up. Considering that with Sesame Street a few months ago, we did hear the great news that Netflix did step in to go and actually save Sesame Street, because especially with what's been going on after HBO Max and Warner Brothers decided to end their deal with Sesame Workshop, which left the future of the series to be in complete limbo. And this is not to mention the horrors of the terrorist group, the Heritage Foundation, and their evil plans with Project 2025, where they want to go and try to eliminate not just Sesame Street, but the entirety of PBS, basically taking away any funding for any and all public broadcasting. So from there, like, the future felt pretty scary for Sesame Street for quite a while. But then Netflix stepped in, where they agreed to go and make a deal with Sesame Street to go and not only finance the show, but to also have an official streaming home onto Netflix, which is like a big bonus considering that right now Netflix is one of the major players in streaming. So already that, you know, like that feels like a bit of a promotion going from HBO Max to Netflix right there. But then on top of that, Netflix also allowed some leeway for Sesame Street, where they would allow Sesame Street to also go and premiere the new episodes onto PBS Kids at the same time as they would on Netflix. Because previously, with the deal that they had with HBO, Sesame Street would first air the new episodes onto HBO and also HBO Max, and then it would be a little while until it would become publicly available on PBS Kids. But now they decided to go and immediately switch that, where PBS Kids will feel more like an official home of Sesame Street alongside Netflix. And now, with the addition to those, they're also going to be adding YouTube onto the mix, where now YouTube is going to be another way where you could go and access many of those classic episodes, along with the new stuff that they are going to make that is just going to be on YouTube. And according to this deal, it looks like YouTube is going to be maybe not the most prominent home, or like what would be the official home, but it is going to be the biggest home of Sesame Street alongside Netflix and PBS Kids, especially with having access to all the episodes and with all the new stuff at the same time. And honestly, the thing that really makes me the most happy about this news is the fact that now Sesame Street is more it will be more accessible than ever. Like, no matter what situation you're in, you can have access to Sesame Street in any way possible. Like, it is easier than ever in order to go and do so. Because if you have streaming, then you could go and freely check out Sesame Street onto Netflix. Considering that they even said that Netflix is going to have about 90 hours worth of library episodes. So if you want to check out some more classic episodes or recent episodes of Sesame Street, you could go and check it out on Netflix. But if you don't have access on Netflix, like if you don't have Netflix, then you could go and catch the episodes on PBS Kids. You could go and watch it the traditional way, where you could turn on the TV and wait for the specific time that it's going to be on, and you could go and check it out there. So at least you'll have that accessibility on cable television. And even if you don't have that, then there is also the new other alternative that you could just go on the internet and you can go on YouTube, where you could go and just search for Sesame Street and you'll find many of the classic episodes and some of the new stuff that they would go and make. So whatever your situation may be, you'll have access to Sesame Street and you'll have so many of these options. And honestly, this really feels like such a silver lining in 2025, or at least like, it may be a small silver lining, but at least it is a silver lining nonetheless. With the way that Republicans are desperately trying to eliminate empathy from people, we do have Sesame Street that now is becoming a much stronger force in order to go and actually promote empathy and kindness onto the future generations, like in order to go and educate that to children, to go and be kind, that being happy is fun, in order to have empathy about caring with others or caring about others, and all that kind of good-hearted traits, that Sesame Street is not giving up and that they are far from over, especially with all these deals that they have going on. So overall, I know this is not necessarily a story in which there's really a lot to go and discuss in here, but I just got to go and comment on this, where honestly, it really does fill my heart to see that the future of Sesame Street is bigger and brighter, and that we know there's going to be a lot more that is in store with Sesame Street. Regardless of what's going to be happening, we know that with Sesame Street, like, they got the support of like many other powerful forces, whether it be with Google and YouTube, or with Netflix, or even with PBS. So at least with Sesame Street, we know that Elmo, Big Bird, Cookie Monster, Ernie and Bert, and all those beloved characters, they're going to be fine. And so with that said, now I would like to pass this on to the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, how do you feel about Sesame Street with the new deal that they got on YouTube? Are you guys excited to go and see what's going to be in store with the future of Sesame Street? Are you excited to go and check out more Sesame Street on YouTube? Let me know what you all think about this one. All right, so thank goodness we have Sesame Street on YouTube to be the next home for the series after what is happening with PBS right now and David Zaslav being David Zaslav, when they chose to have HBO Max no longer having the show on their platform, plus the fact that we would have something entertaining for kids on YouTube than the Coco Melon Baby and all those content farm content you would see nowadays. You know, it's actually kind of funny because they do mention that even on YouTube, Sesame Street is becoming popular than ever. In fact, even I think they even mentioned that it's surpassing the popularity of Coco Melon, or no, would it be over here, or I don't know, or I don't know if they mentioned this on this specific article, but they have mentioned that the popularity of Sesame Street right now is becoming like on par or even surpassing Coco Melon, where it did say here, YouTube says that over the past year, Sesame Street content viewership was up by more than 130%, topping 5 billion views on the platform. So they're already big on Sesame Street, and I can imagine with this deal, they're going to get even bigger. All right. This is honestly a huge win with Sesame Street. After how badly HBO Max treated it, and not to mention how Trump is basically trying to turn kids into idiots, Sesame Street seems like it has a brighter and better future than ever before, with classic episodes to YouTube on top of the Netflix deal. This is a big win, and now we need Sesame Street more than ever. Who would have guessed the American heroes that we need is Elmo and Big Bird. All right. Let's see now. Bluey, one of my many favorite kids shows, Sesame Street being another. A lot of other YouTubers have been doing this prior. There's even a YouTuber who has uploaded almost all of the original English dub episodes of Thelma Thumb. I say almost because I think the only episode of Thelma Thumb that is missing is one that involves a soapbox derby race. I hope the Double S channel uploads these episodes the same way their users did, not just the street scenes alone. Well, then again, I mean, like, it's almost reassuring that we would get it from like the official people instead of just like other people trying to upload, because like, if you're like, yeah, I understand that there are people who would go rogue and they would try to upload a lot of lost media and stuff like that. But sometimes it doesn't necessarily always work, because of course, when people would go and do that, they would face a lot of copyright trouble. And this is not even to mention like the quality that they would go and find, because the best that they could go and try to uncover is like something that is like 240p or even just like 2p and stuff like that, where it's like the quality is like really grainy and really bad to the point that it makes it hard to watch. But at least like now that we do have Sesame Workshop actually uploading those videos, they will make sure that the quality will be at their best. So, this is not to go and discredit those people who would upload like the lost media and those older episodes of Sesame Street and stuff like that. But honestly, I'm going to trust Sesame Workshop to go and actually do that instead of the rogue channels. All right. Anyways, what else do we have here? I gotta say, this is a major step up from the last time you mentioned Sesame Street. In fact, being placed on YouTube really captures the spirit of what PBS is all about. I'm way past my prime for the series, but I'm really happy for them sweeping the clouds away. It's for sure going to be a sunny day. All right. Let's see now. The irony of that is Sesame Street will share the same spacer as Cocomelon on Netflix. Yeah, exactly. Like, Sesame Street and Cocomelon are already are going to be neighbors on Netflix. So now they're also going to be neighbors on YouTube. But let's hope maybe like the connection won't be too close together. I mean, you never know. All right. Anyways, let's see here. It feels a bit unfortunate that Sesame Street has to make deals with corporate douches, but this is the way to survive. But if this is the way to survive, so be it. I'd rather have Sesame Street surviving through major corporations than having Trump and his cronies trampling all over. Speaking of which, can we find a way to have him thrown out like how South Korea got rid of their last president? I wish, man. I wish you guys can actually have a way, but oh boy, I don't know. Like, who knows what's gonna come first? Like, it's either that he's going, it's either he's going to be gone automatically or manually. Either way, someone has to do that job. But anyways, yeah. The thing is that I know some people might have a bad taste in their mouth knowing that the saviors of something as beloved as Sesame Street has to be like a major corporation, but it's very much like with what we're seeing with indie animation. Because if you want to see beloved indie animation and beloved indie studios to really go and thrive, then they need the assistance of major corporations like Amazon and Netflix. I mean, that's pretty much the reason why we have more episodes of stuff like Has Been Hotel, Hell of a Boss, or even the glitch production stuff like The Amazing Digital Circus. Like, really, they like the unfortunate truth is that those studios and those shows would be struggling hard if it weren't for the financial assistance of Amazon. So I'm just saying that, yeah, it's like the comment says that, if they need help from Google, if Sesame Street needs help from Netflix and Google in order to survive, then so be it. All right, let's see. Is there any other comments? Let's see. What else do we have here? There's not a lot left, so I think I'll just go with one more. AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast has been brought to you today by the letter W and the number 200+++. Okay, anyways, Sesame Street is dominating Cocomelon? Heaven on earth rejoice, but in all seriousness, this is fantastic news. It's great to see Sesame Street surviving the current streaming age and hopefully entertains and educates kids for many years to come thanks to this new deal. Exactly, man. It can't always be doom and gloom even in this with AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. We gotta have some positivity going on in order to go and look forward with what's to come. And if you're looking forward with Sesame Street coming to YouTube, then keep in mind that those classic episodes and many more will be arriving on the platform on January 2026. And with that said, we are going to go on one more break. But when we do come back, we're... oh, excuse me, folks. But when we are coming back, we are going to go and actually check out one more story. And this is actually a pretty fresh one, yet it's also quite controversial because the more you look into it, the wilder it gets. So the big question to go and ask is Beast Boy actually fired? Well, we will find out after this. And now, everyone, it is now time that we will go and conclude this episode off with the grand finale. And with this grand finale, I'm just going to go and immediately say this right now, that this is a pretty fresh news. This is still developing, this is still ongoing, and there's still a lot more questions that need to be answered with this. But still, though, at first glance, this does seem like pretty tragic news, especially when it comes to this actor who has been playing a certain character for several years, and then the opportunity was just taken away from him. But the more deeper that you look into it, the more that you will see that there are just some things here that are just not connecting. And you'll understand what I'm talking about as we will go and dive into the case of Greg Cipes. As you guys know, Greg Cipes has been the longtime voice of Beast Boy for Teen Titans, specifically not just for the 2003 series, but also for Teen Titans Go. And there was an unfortunate report that recently came out that actually revealed that because of his diagnosis of Parkinson's, he was actually fired from his position as Beast Boy. In fact, there was actually this Instagram post that actually described the entire situation, in which I'll read you what it says here from my source on the Wrap, in which the post states, "Hey, James Gunn, since Teen Titans Go falls under Elseworld, the fans need your help. I had the pleasure of speaking with Greg Cipes, and he shared with me lots of upsetting details and information of how he was wrongfully terminated by Sam Register while the other original actors get to keep their jobs." In which he says, in which it continues by saying, "He said it was after Valentine's Day and the OG Titans cast begged Sam that the show would not be the same without Greg, and the things that Sam Register said and did is very inhumane. Greg told me he has been discriminated against because of his Parkinson's, and they are trying to steal his voice and replace him with a mimic for the new Teen Titans Go season. DC fans spread the Save Beast Boy hashtag. Greg needs your help." And on top of that, even Greg Cipes himself has actually commented on that post where he stated, "Warner Brothers literally fired me on Valentine's Day after I publicly shared my Parkinson's diagnosis. It's like a death to me that only the fans can bring back to life." So, as you can imagine, this is a pretty tragic story, and it honestly really sucks to hear that he would be fired this way. I mean, one thing's for certain, it does suck that Greg did get Parkinson's. I mean, like, it is unfortunate that he would have to live the rest of his life for that. He has to live the rest of his life with that. So honestly, I do wish him the best in terms of his health. But it really is heartbreaking to also go and hear about the fact that he ended up losing his job because of it. Like, there are times that, well, people don't tell you how it can be brutal in the voice acting world, and that studios can actually find you to be quickly replaceable if for one reason or another, justified or not, that if you're not in a good position to go and voice the character, then you're immediately gonna be replaced. And there's been plenty of examples in which you would see people get replaced for their voices of iconic characters just because. Like, Nintendo is actually one who is pretty guilty of doing so, because I did hear that, at least when it comes to Peach, Nintendo just decided, hey, you know what? We got a new console coming out. We got a new Mario Kart game happening. Let's go and switch up Peach. I mean, we already did the switch up with characters like Mario and Luigi when Charles Martinet retired. So now let's go and actually switch Peach, you know? Like, yeah, the actress is fine, but let's go and get a fresh voice, you know what I mean? And there are a few others that people would go and probably bring up. And I see some people in the chat are also mentioning that Glitch Productions would have its fair share of controversies with how they would treat their voice actors in a similar fashion. So yeah, as you could tell, this is like straight up discrimination with what Greg Cipes is accusing. Like the fact that he got diagnosed with Parkinson's and Warner Brothers saw this and says, yeah, you know what? We're going to have to let you go. You're not going to be in a good position to be voicing Beast Boy anymore. But by the way, speaking of Warner Brothers, it looks like there is a bit of a clarification on their end with what they are doing with Greg Cipes here, in which it says right over here, actually, I'll also include that part, in which it says, an individual close to the situation painted the circumstances of Cipes' exit in a different light, telling the Wrap that when producers approached Cipes about stepping down from the role due to the performance issues, they offered to create a new character for him to voice and began talks with his agent on a development deal to keep him involved. This individual insisted Cipes was not fired because he has Parkinson's disease, but because his performance was not up to the level that producers needed for Beast Boy. Cipes has recorded a couple of scripts featuring the new character, and the development deal is still being negotiated, this individual said. So basically, they're saying that even though he's no longer going to be Beast Boy, they are talking with him in terms of voicing a new character. But still, though, like a lot of it really feels like this is bad, especially on Warner Brothers' part. In fact, I just thought up of another example that is actually very similar. The whole situation with Ginger and the fact that they have to replace the original voice actress in the sequel to Chicken Run. The fact that they brought back some of the original cast to go and provide their voices for their respective characters. But when it comes to Ginger, however, they decided to go and switch her up, despite the fact that the original actress did prove that she can actually go and still do the voice, even if she is much older. Like, she still got it as Ginger. By the way, chat wall, if you could go and bring up who the actress's name is, honestly, the name unfortunately escapes me. So I just want to have that clarification in terms of the point that I am making here. Yes, the sequel is Dawn of the Nugget. Julie Sawalha. That's who I mean. Like, the fact that Julia Sawalha didn't come back for Dawn of the Nugget because of, you could say, the discrimination of her age, even though she has proved that she could still do very well as Ginger. So it is a little bit like that. So yeah, as you could imagine, it is definitely quite frustrating to see this whole thing, especially with what's happening to Greg Cipes and the way that he is being treated with Warner Brothers. But then I did a little bit of digging, and I looked into the situation with Greg Cipes, and it looks like Greg Cipes has been a pretty controversial figure, especially with the controversy that has been going on right now. And the more that I dug into this, the more that I see people talking about this and talking about some of his previous posts that he has talked about with his Parkinson's, the more that this situation feels pretty confusing. And there's a lot of the facts that don't seem to really connect, especially with the evidence that I'm about to go and show you. Like, one example is actually from a post that he did back in April. So this is a little bit after it was revealed that he was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And he actually made a post on Twitter where it says here, "Thanks, Warner Brothers, for keeping me working as the Beast Boy I created for 25 years. And throughout all this Parkinson's stuff, I'm feeling very good. Together, let the light shine on Parkinson's Awareness Month." And on top of that, he also has a video where he himself expressed that thanks. So hold on. Don't go too fast, Greg. So let me just show you the clip in which he actually mentions this.
Microphone checker. 1, 2, checker. Yo! Let me get real for a minute. It's Parkinson's Awareness Month, and I wanted to take a moment to thank Warner Brothers. The studios totally got my back. The cast got my back. You all got my back. And I got your back. Whether you have Parkinson's or any other disease, just know that you're never, ever alone. By your side is where I'll be. Endless love won't fade, you'll see. When I walk, you walk with me. Together let the light shine. Yeah. But Greg, you can heal from anything. Thanks, Beast Boy. You're welcome. Microphone.
So this is a little bit curious. He made a little video in April where he thanked Warner Brothers for having his back to stay as Beast Boy. And this isn't the only post, by the way, where he would go and actually express his gratitude to Warner Brothers and expressing his gratitude that he could still be Beast Boy even though he has Parkinson's. Like, moving to another source I have here from Twitter, this is a post from CN News Schedules in which they stated here, a little curious about the timeline on this because Greg has been posting on his Instagram account about Teen Titans Go Season 10, claiming that we had just started recording it in just 5 weeks ago. NDA maybe? Hope that WBA would change its mind? So this is a post that apparently is from 11 weeks ago in which he says, "Thank you, Titans team, for sticking with me through the challenging times over these past few years as I heal from Parkinson's. Recording our show together as a family brings me so much joy and gratitude for lives as actors. Excited for season 10. But okay, so that was the one from 11 weeks ago. So it's been a little while. But then we got this post here, and this is from 5 weeks ago, in which it says, "Even while battling and winning against Parkinson's, I still got Beast Boy's soul and voice living and thriving inside of me. We just started recording season 10 of Teen Titans Go, and I think you're going to like it a lot. Beast Boy was born with the first animated series audition I ever had at Warner Brothers." So from there, it looks like for quite a while, he was still Beast Boy. So a lot of it feels, and it's very strange because, like, again, you got to keep in mind that the accusation that Greg Cipes has said is that he was fired on Valentine's Day. That back then, he lost his position as Beast Boy because Sam Register decided to go and kick him out. And yet, through these posts that he has made in these past few months, it looks like he still had Beast Boy. He was still voicing Beast Boy. You know, he was still in the Teen Titans Go team. Like, he's still doing the show. So what the fridge is going on? Well, a lot of people have actually uncovered some more stuff about Greg Cipes, and some people have developed a new possible theory as to why is it that maybe he is no longer the voice of Beast Boy. And it's not because of his Parkinson's, but it's because of the activity that he does on social media, where unfortunately Greg Cipes is a bit of a Zachary Levi kind of guy. And by that, I mean that he has pretty much become a full-on anti-vaxxer. And this is this is just one of the several posts that he would go and do on social media, rather it be on Twitter or on Instagram, where he would be posting a bunch of stuff that is basically just misinformation about the medical field, about diseases, and of course, a lot of misinformation about vaccines. And this is not to mention that there have also been a lot of other claims that the dude is also a Robert F. Kennedy Jr. stan. Like this post right over here, where he would discuss about Parkinson's, he stated, and this is actually pretty recent, it's actually a Twitter post he did on August 30th. It says here, one of the main reasons I got Parkinson's in conjunction with when they released COVID on us, COVID triggered all these severe symptoms to progress. I'm healing gradually with getting this shit out of my body and figured out much in regards to the disease. Parkinson's is curable. Geoengineering, aka chemtrails, are slow genocide population control. Bill Gates owns the global patent and the government supports it with your tax dollars. Look it up. So basically, the dude is just spreading nonsensical misinformation and wackadoodle conspiracy theories all about medicine and vaccines and all that kind of stuff. So it wouldn't be surprising if the actual reason why he would be kicked out is actually because of all the posts that he would be making, that he would be spreading dangerous misinformation that would actually go and harm people. And maybe it could be a similar case to why Disney initially kicked out Gina Carano, that the studio would keep telling him to stop, but of course he refused to do so. And this is kind of like their last resort in order to actually go and make him shut up. So I just want to go and immediately say this. Like, as I said before, this story is still ongoing, and we still have tons of more questions that have yet to be fully answered about this. There's no conclusion that we can make just yet. Everything is still technically fresh as I am recording this, but there's a lot of weird things that are going on with this controversy in particular. And even when you go and look directly back onto what Greg Cipes initially said, like when you do think about what he claims about the fact that he was fired back on Valentine's Day and could no longer do the voice of Beast Boy because Sam Register wouldn't want him to. There's also something about that I feel like it doesn't make sense either. Because why is it that you've waited until September in order to tell us this? It's been over half a year that you would go and decide and say, oh, you know what? I'm going to go and actually go and say this. Now, I understand if it were like a month or 2 months later or something like that, but why would you go and like hold back after all this time? And I mean, some people might go and say that maybe it's because of non-disclosure agreements that he signed, or maybe there could be some things happening behind the scenes that he wouldn't go and initially say, in which he would have to wait for this whole time. And that could possibly be true. But for me personally, I just find that to be kind of weird that he would have to wait over half a year for him to actually go and say something. And especially the fact that he would go and portray like his fellow co-actors saying that they saying that, oh, they have to beg Warner Brothers for him to go and come back because the show wouldn't be complete and stuff. And yet, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe there have been some posts that I haven't seen, but isn't it kind of weird that we have yet to hear any comments from the other Teen Titans actors? We haven't heard anything from Scott. We haven't heard anything from Tara. We haven't heard anything from any of the others. Like, it's just Greg Cipes that's just mentioning about this. I don't know. There's just so much of it that I feel like it doesn't really make any sense. And based on the evidence that we have seen that can be a counter argument to what he has talked about, I mean, considering his stance against vaccines and his support for Robert F. Kennedy Jr., then it definitely is possible that he is capable of just flat out spreading misinformation. And if he can spread misinformation about vaccines and medicine, then he can easily do so when it comes to his own job and with his position in Teen Titans Go. So overall, I don't know, there's just so much of this that I feel like it is absolutely weird here. Now, is Greg Cipes lying about being fired from Teen Titans Go and being fired from his role as Beast Boy? Honestly, I don't know, but I feel like maybe it could be true or maybe it's false. But I feel like in this entire situation, there is someone here who is not expressing the truth. There is someone here that is just flat out lying in this entire scenario. And this is not even to mention with what Warner Brothers has stated, or the insider has stated, that technically he is still, he's still negotiating with Warner Brothers on what to do, and he is working on a new character. So what is it that's actually going on? Honestly, I really don't know, but there's just so much of it that it feels like it's off. Maybe pretty soon we will have some updates about the scenario. We will have some clarifications on who's lying or who's telling the truth. But I don't know. There's just so much of it. I just find this to be really weird. And in this case, it's not really helping Greg out in making himself look good. Like, this could be a scenario where maybe everybody loses, or maybe this is a scenario where maybe the good guys are actually Warner Brothers, ironically enough. But still, though, it's just like, there's so much about this that really sucks, but there's so much about this that also does not make sense. And so with that said, now I would like to go onto the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, what do you think about the whole Greg Cipes situation? Do you believe in Greg Cipes, where he was unfairly treated and got fired because of his Parkinson's disease? Or do you think that he might be lying and that there might be something going on that he's not actually telling us? Let me know what you guys think, or let me know if you guys can actually help me try to make sense of this entire situation. All right, let's see what we got here. Oh boy. Back in May, I actually met Greg Cipes along with other Teen Titans cast members and at one of my local cons, and I gotta say, I wondered why he was pretty quiet and trying to stand pretty still, pretty well. But he wasn't rude after briefly meeting him, but then I heard the news that he has Parkinson's afterwards. It makes sense and why that sucks. I know he said terrible takes about vaccines, and I do question about the guy that I almost forgot about until recently. I do want Warner Brothers' side of the story to give. Yeah, I mean, I mean, regardless what the case is, one thing is for sure is that I do wish Greg well in terms of his health, because even though I don't have it, I know that it's not fun to go and deal with having Parkinson's. But still though, hopefully, we'll have other people who can clarify this, or hell, why not? Why not actually get some of the other people from Teen Titans Go actually answer some questions? You know who could actually help in this? Why don't we get the producers to actually help us out? Why not have the producers actually come in, or even Sam Register himself, to go and explain their side of the actual story? Or actually more the producers here. We need a median to go and explain an unbiased side of what the fridge is actually going on. Or maybe even some of the other actors. Who knows? Maybe Tara Strong could actually help out and clarify everything. Okay, anyways, I'll be honest, when I first heard Greg Cipes, I honestly felt sorry for him. However, considering a lot of things I've heard about him, especially with him being an anti-vaxxer, honestly, I think Warner Brothers would be a lot more justifiable to fire him. However, if this is the case, this honestly makes Warner Brothers look hypocritical, where they would fire Greg Cipes as Beast Boy, but they would keep Tara Strong as Raven despite all of her controversies. So yeah, there might be that. I don't know. I understand that with Tara Strong, that she's another can of worms, but in this case here, it's just I don't know what else is going to be going on. Let's see. I first thought I feel sympathetic towards Gray, or or with Greg, him over his diagnosis of Parkinson's, but now learning about him spreading misinformation and supporting Robert F. Kennedy Jr., I immediately take back my sympathy for him for the time being. The whole situation feels so confusing on who is the true villain. I know that Warner Brothers is very evil these days, but even I have to admit that even some voice actors have their own skeletons in the closet. Looking at you, Tara Strong. Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. Well, to say I don't know what to feel from this, first, I don't actually like Teen Titans Go either, but I don't waste my time hating on it. However, I don't want him to lose his life either, since I know Parkinson's can be quite a nasty disease. But it's all the evidence given out, it's all the evidence given out makes it hard to follow to think we should root for him to keep his role, or it's better off for if he leaves now. It makes my head spin. I know it's fresh, but this cannot comprehend who really is honest here. Exactly. For now, it's just very confusing, and hopefully we will be getting some answers soon. While I'm not that interested in Teen Titans Go in the past few years, I would have no clue what I am seeing here from Greg Cipes stepping down as Beast Boy, and then news that Greg Cipes is still Beast Boy, and then word got out that Greg is spreading theories about vaccines and stuff like that. But I would like to say, yikes. And we don't know what's going on here outside of this controversy, and telling us that he had to tell us that half a year after Valentine's Day is just weird indeed. And by the way, this is also not to mention that it could also be possible that Greg Cipes is also scapegoating Warner Brothers in order to go and get his role back. Because you got to keep in mind that hating on Warner Brothers, like Disney, is still a very popular thing. And there are people on the internet who would be more than happy to go and jump onto the opportunity to go and throw their hate on the company. So maybe Greg Cipes could be taking advantage on that Warner Brothers hate in order to make things go in his favor. That could also be a possibility. Is that actually the case? I don't know. Because for now, we can only make possible theories as to what is actually happening. All right, I'll read one more comment and then we're going to cap this off here. Who else did I not read? Let's see now. Okay. Oh, I'll go right over here now. I don't know if he's telling the truth or not, but hearing that Greg Cipes about being fired from the role of Beast Boy is being questionable for now, but we had to find out, wait and see. But if he's actually fired from the role, how come he got so controversial and yet Mike Pollock is still voicing Dr. Eggman, despite his own controversial takes on Twitter? Oh boy, I think it's going to be more of a case-by-case thing, rather it be Greg Cipes or Tara Strong or Mike Pollock. Well, they got their own controversies going on, but who knows what actually is the case. And hopefully we will know more answers in the future. And with that said, that should do it for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Hey, thank you all so much for joining me on this. It's been quite a wild ride, but it definitely has been a fun one. So stay tuned for the next episode, as we are going to see much more crazy animation news that will be in store. What are they? Well, I guess we're going to have to wait and see, because trust me, even I don't really know. And also, I just want to say that if you guys have enjoyed AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, then don't miss out on any future episodes by subscribing to my Twitch channel, AniMat Live, or the AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast YouTube channel. And also, if you are following me on whatever, or if you are listening to me on whatever if you are listening to me on whatever podcast service you are listening to, then don't forget to go and follow me there as well, whether it be on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and more. And with that said and done, I would like to say thank you all so much for joining me. Thank you all so much for watching. And thank you all so much for listening. And until next time, see you later, dudes.